Hello and welcome to yet another week here at Widener Radio underneath Howe Hall, coming to you live from Widener University's campus. This is Nick Safiri reporting here first for Sports Zealots. And today we have a completely different setup than normal. No Matt, who's out sick. No Justin, who's not here. It's Jason, who for the first time in quite a while is actually here within the studio with us. Jason, say hi to the people.
How's it going, everybody? Hoping to give some Westchester point of view today.
And we have a lot of things to talk about because this has actually been a pretty eventful sports news week, not even just hockey. So we might as well jump right into it. Probably one of the smallest big news stories we have today, from one sports personality host to another, Skip Bayless. Finally, ESPN viewers are getting their wishes, and he is leaving ESPN. But for the people who do like Fox Sports, I'm so sorry because he just signed there for a $5.5 million deal.
I don't even know how people like Bryce Harper, top of their sport, are going to be making less than Skip Bayless. Skip, Dallas Cowboy diehard, Bayless.
I don't know. I mean, do you know how long they signed him for?
I don't know the length of the contract or anything. I just know his contract is ending the game after the NBA Finals end. That's his last show on First Take with Stephen A. Smith. And from that point on, he will no longer be working with ESPN.
Okay. So might as well, first ask off the bat, how do you feel about Skip Bayless leaving?
About leaving ESPN? He's an entertaining personality for some, just because of how outrageous he can be.
Yeah.
And when you're first watching it, it is the funniest show you will ever watch. But after a while, especially when you're an Eagles fan, hearing "How about my Cowboys"
all the time,
the act runs old pretty quickly.
As you could imagine.
And I hope he does well with Fox, but I'm not going to say I'm going to miss watching him and Stephen A. Go at it every morning during the week for 2 hours.
Yeah, I never found myself to be a significant fan of the show, First Take. I never normally went home and was like, oh, cool, First Take's on. I'm like, ew, First Take's on. Let me never, ever go near that. So I can't really say that I'd miss him. I actually hate Skip Bayless. I think he's a terrible personality. What he says on TV is for ratings, and it's desperate and it's awful from a journalistic standpoint. I understand that we exhibit some very hot takes ourselves, but at the same time, we aren't given the same platform as him. We're not working with the biggest conglomerate in sports in ESPN in terms of like sports news. The biggest sports conglomerate would be NBC Comcast or Comcast NBC, whatever. Comcast owns NBC, but whatever. Anyway, I'm not going to miss Skip Bayless. Stephen A. Smith shares probably the same problems. He's very sensationalist. Both of them are very jump to conclusion type of sports writers, and they're just kind of annoying.
I don't know if this is a term, but I think Fox News brought up he's an opinionalist or something along those lines.
That doesn't sound like a word.
But there's analyst, and he's analyzing what he's saying, but it's all like opinion-based, and half the time he's talking, it's where are you getting these opinions from? Are you just writing something down and saying, you know what, this is going to be perfect for 10 in the morning?
That sounds like the dumbest thing I've heard today. An opinionalist. That, first of all, eventually I will come back next week and check if that is an actual word. I'm going to guarantee you right now that it's not, and if it is, I'm going to look stupid.
I was reading an article from Fox News saying he's like a personality they're looking for, and I'm almost positive they use the word opinionalist, and that is the same. He's going to have the same type of position he had with ESPN when he goes to Fox News.
Excuse the silence. I'm actually checking. Yeah, no, it's not a word.
Okay.
So, that's cool. No, don't even bother with the next week checkup. It's not a word.
It's not a word.
Doesn't have to take a scholar to know this.
I didn't think it was a word. I might have read it wrong. I'm not
Does not
going to
matter.
Westchester to read.
Yeah, I can't read either, to be honest. No to that. Well, you when you were talking, you couldn't hear. No one could see or hear me eye roll hard enough because of like how I don't understand how Skip Bayless is like so successful. Because I never found his writing to be anything fantastic. I think he's very bland, and everybody has an opinion. I don't know why that makes anybody special. That's like saying, oh, we pulled this guy off the street because he knows how to say the Greek alphabet from start to finish and then from back to front. Like that makes literally like where's the correlation between having an opinion and being able to be a sports writer? I understand he's had like longevity. He's been in the business for a long time, but I don't think that makes him good.
I think when you look at Skip Bayless, to me, I don't know if this is right to say, but he just kind of looks like a guy you want to punch in the face kind of when he's talking.
No. We get that. If anybody's listened to the Orange Update podcast with Bill Matz, Steph Driver, Dave Katai, Ryan Gilbert, and CJ Burns, Bill Matz at one point said that Bryce Harper and Jonathan Papelbon he said that CJ reminds him of Papelbon and Harper because all three of them have very punchable faces. So this isn't the first time I've heard a comparison like that. But no, Skip Bayless has a very punchable personality. Like he's disgusting. I hate him.
He's an agitator, and he's gonna make people angry. And part of the reason I like watching that show is if the Eagles beat the Cowboys, next morning I'm making sure I watch just to see how sad he is and how riled up he gets that they lost and what excuses he'll come up with. And I get drawn into that, and I think it's stupid what he does, but I'm a sucker for just seeing him get mad, and it's beautiful when he is mad.
Oh, it's amazing. I love when Stephen A just like lays into like Skip. That's like the only thing that I really enjoy about that show, and even then it's not too enjoyable, to be honest.
Especially when he uses blasphemy like 3 times in one argument.
Blasphemy! I hate it. I hate it so much. Both of them are pretty annoying. But moving directly along as I pull my microphone further and further away. Okay. The NFL draft happened. The first round of the NFL draft happened last night. A lot of things went on. The Broncos traded up to get Paxton Lynch. The Cowboys took Ezekiel Elliott. But more importantly than probably everything else, going at 1-2 as expected to happen, Goff went to the Rams and Wentz went to the Eagles.
This is the pick that will undoubtedly define the Eagles for the next decade.
Yes.
If this works out, we have the opportunity to build around a guy that could possibly lead us to a first Super Bowl, and we will have stability within this organization for the long future, long haul. However, if this doesn't work out, we are also pretty much done for, dead in the water for the same amount of time, and we might be entering, as much as I hate to say it, Cleveland Brown territory of purgatory, trying to cycle through year after year, decade after decade, just trying to find that one quarterback that's holding us back for however long that might take.
Well, I think this past draft or the current draft now really hinges on what the Eagles build around Wentz and utilizing the players they have now and trying to adapt through free agency to free agency. I think they could build themselves a pretty decent team. The problem they face now is having a very weak and I wouldn't say soft, but a very paper thin roster on the O-line. Like the O-line is very not well handled depth wise.
To the Eagles' credit, I will give them props for improving their O-line from what it was last year. Last year at the guard position, it was absolutely atrocious. And when it came to Jason Peters, the system Chip Kelly had the Eagles running in, that was going to... He's an old guy. He's not going to be able to do what he was able to do when he was in his early 20s or mid-20s at that. So in an offense like that, it was only bound to happen that huge linemen like that aren't going to be able to last for however long he was here, 3 seasons.
Yeah, something like that. Maybe?
After a while, it was 3
No,
seasons.
yeah, Chip, yeah.
And after a while, they're just going to break down. And with Peters at the age he was and some nagging injuries he dealt with before Chip Kelly came in, it was only a matter of time before we saw like an eventual decline in both his play and his health.
I think under the right circumstances, Peters will go back to form. I think under Chip Kelly, he had no fit. He's not the type of guy who needs to run around and like run with the running back if you're throwing like a sweep to the outside. He is a protect the quarterback. If a guy comes at me, I'm going to shove him to the ground and just keep him there type of lineman. And he did it for so long, and he worked with Vic. Like, he did some pretty good things with Vic, and then as soon as Chip Kelly's like, hey guys, check this out, and then he just ruined them.
This, I think, is the ultimate example of someone who can do something, but it doesn't mean he should be doing something. Jason Peters has the ability to do what Chip Kelly has been doing, but over time, it doesn't mean it's what's best for Jason Peters. And ultimately, what's best for Jason Peters would be what's best for the Eagles, since he is still our best offensive lineman currently.
Mm-hmm. And that's understandable, but I think all in due time, like, Carson Wentz could be the cornerstone of this organization, I think. If all the pieces line up together, like if Matthews becomes this all-star wide receiver we've been hoping he'd be, as well as now the other guy, the number 2 guy that played last year.
Are we talking wide receiver or
yes,
tight end?
Wide receiver.
Josh Huff?
No.
Nelson Aguilar?
Yes. Huff, I don't know what standards he's supposed to play up to, but Aguilar, I think, if him and Matthews like align together, Ertz finally develops fully into the tight end, we'd hope. Well, he basically is. He just needs some further improvement. Like, he's still pretty damn good, and I think the Eagles have a good running back core now. So I think the biggest concern for them is the line. I think the line, at least on the offensive side of the ball, the line is their biggest concern, because if you don't protect the quarterback, or even if you don't play the run game well, you're going to get trashed. And you got to see that last year when we had 2 no-name guards, and they breezed through the inside of the line.
I think having a slower-paced offense, which Doug Peterson's going to bring, is going to help the Eagles tremendously, both with the offensive line and with their defense as well, giving the defense more time to rest. That's going to be able to keep the offense in the game, because last year, we saw at the beginning of the year, the Eagles' defense was pretty stout for the most part.
Absolutely. They played out of their minds.
But as the season goes on, and we saw this every year with Chip Kelly's team, the defense would start to give up more and more towards the end of the season, because, once again, high energy pace that Chip Kelly runs is great for the beginning of the season, but at the end of the season, everyone's dead tired.
Absolutely. And like, I'd almost say there was an extreme lack of effort by the defense, because the offense wasn't doing anything, because the offense would throw, or not even throw, they would go through so many 0-4 drives that the defense would just be on the field like a decent amount of the time. I can't obviously pull up statistics. I could, but meh. But you got to see how tired the defense and depleted the defense got too, because as soon as they lost Hicks, they were a completely like different team. Like, after that Cowboys game in November, they just broke down.
They lost Mufasa and Simba last year, so you just lost the entire Lion Kingdom.
Yeah, that's not particularly helpful, I'd say. But we have the opportunity to see where this goes. I think we're the perfect age to see and understand like how this organization will turn this corner, for the better or for worse.
I think the one thing that has me just kind of gritting my teeth on because of this trade is not so much that we did it, but giving up that first round pick next year is going to really, really hurt to see let go, because one of 2 things can happen. One, we play really well, and we don't have a first-round pick, but we also don't pick till late in the second round.
Yep.
Or 2, we do really badly, and we don't have a first-round pick to use on a guy that can help build around Carson Wentz.
God forbid that both the Browns and the Eagles play like garbage next year, because then they'd both end up with like a top 5 pick.
I was talking to my roommate at Westchester about this, and we were having the worst nightmares about seeing the Browns and Eagles end up first and second worst, and the Browns drafting the quarterback out of Clemson, Deshaun Watson, and Leonard Fournette out of LSU, and just thinking about how bad that could be. And they drafted Corey Coleman this year, so that's like a big 3 right there on the offensive side of the ball. And to think we might give that up is just very scary to think about.
I think if you go back in time and you didn't play this trade out and you decided to keep the 8th overall pick, I think what the Eagles could have done is they could have, obviously, if you keep the 8, you keep the 1st for the next year. I would say, if I was Howie Roseman in this instance, I would have probably taken Ezekiel Elliott. Because as much as I like Sproles and Matthews only has 1-2 more years on his contract. Sproles is a great utility man, and you keep him, obviously, because he's too useful to a bunch of aspects to your game. But
he's getting up there in age, too, though, so we're going to have to find a replacement for him soon. We're going to need more depth on the offensive line soon because our best tackle or guard is aging. So
incredibly.
Exactly.
So you could have kept Ezekiel Elliott. Even if you were really bad this season, you could have, or maybe not even taken Elliott. You probably could have taken, I don't know, like a lineman or a defensive player, or saved, because if you didn't want Elliott now and you still wanted to see how the team would work without it, but you still played through free agency, you get all the depth players you need for the offensive line, all that stuff, then you could have had a chance at Fournette. Fournette on the Eagles would make me explode on the inside. But, I mean, it all depends how it works out, because this could either be the biggest positive or the worst negative we've seen. Honestly, I think this trade and this draft pick, so this selection, could make or break Howie Roseman's tenure.
Oh, it's absolutely on Howie Roseman's entire tenure here. If this doesn't work out, I would give him 2 years. If we don't see Carson Wentz show the potential of being that franchise quarterback, Howie Roseman's done in Philadelphia.
I don't know what Jeffrey Lurie's mindset is, but I'm sure he's getting incredibly impatient. I think he's tired of dealing with dramatics. I think he just wants to win.
I think that this is a move where Jeffrey Lurie is going back to what he knows. And when he came here, Andy Reid picks quarterback Donovan McNabb. That's what he knows is successful. That's what he's trying to go back to and
replicate,
recreate. If that doesn't happen, I don't want to think about that.
No.
I really don't want to think about that.
Yeah, I'd rather just stick to the Flyers, because I know they'll be damn good in the next 2 years. Because thinking about all the intangibles and how positive or negative this could go, I mean, you got the Sixers on one hand, who they could be bad, but they're still relatively entertaining to a very small degree, because they play 82 games, and you're going to get some highlights when you play 82 games in a season. However, the Eagles play 16, and they'll play 32 in the span of 2 years. So you're most likely going to get either something good or just something disgusting and terrible.
The Cleveland Browns, if you will.
The Cleveland Browns. And with that, we're going to go to a different draft, which is coming up relatively soon, or the lottery is anyway. The NHL draft lottery should be happening within the next few weeks coming up here. Oh boy, what an exciting time to be an Oilers fan. Jason, who do you think gets the first overall pick?
I'll be honest with you.
And drafts Austin Matthews. Austin Matthews will go first.
Well, let's look at it like this. The Leafs have the best chances at 20% to draft first overall. The Edmonton Oilers, over the past half decade, have practically labeled the number 1 pick their own.
Yep.
And personally, I don't know why. This is just a gut feeling, and they only have a 6% chance of getting this pick.
Yeah.
I just have the strangest feeling Buffalo is somehow gonna win the lottery this year. No reason at all, just random, just feeling they kind of got gypped last year with the McDavid situation. Maybe this is a NHL saying, you know what, have Austin Matthews, Jack Eichel, we'll give you that.
Yeah. I mean, if you're here, have this free gift. I think it could be Buffalo. However, I'm not 100%. Like, it is a lottery. But I'm not entirely sure how true to the lottery system they actually are. We'd have to wait and see, because I am scared that the Oilers will get it again. That is my biggest fear, that Austin Matthews goes to the Oilers to play with McDavid. And they're like, yay, Edmonton, new stadium, hooray. Season tickets, buy them. Like, just that stuff.
And then another last place finish.
Yet again.
You would think with all these, like, top pick forwards, they'd be able to trade, like, one or two of them and actually get defense. But that hasn't happened in... How long for Edmonton?
Too long.
When's the last, like, star defenseman they've had? Like, was it Pronger?
Edmonton.
Yeesh.
Off the top of my head, I think that's it.
He was
might be wrong.
He was with Edmonton, I believe, when they made their last cup run
against the Hurricanes.
That epic.
What a series!
That was a great series. It's just what happened to both of those teams when it ended.
Yeah.
Crazy things happen like that all the time, though, so I guess we shouldn't be too surprised.
No, absolutely. But I think the draft is going to be positive for us as Flyers fans, no matter what, because even after losing in 6 to the Capitals in a very heartbreaking fashion because they lost by 1 goal, I think the Flyers have nowhere to go but up. Even though this was a slightly meh season, no one really expected that. I didn't expect them to make it to the playoffs or even surpass a round. I considered them a bubble team. And then I went full optimism mode and be like, Cup, Stanley Cup. I think the Flyers are going to do well no matter what. I think the Flyers are going to make smart, important financial decisions. Umberger, I think, is getting bought out. We talked about that. Or no, I didn't. I talked about that with Mark. Umberger is getting bought out, so there's some cap. I don't know what they're going to do with Streit. He might stick around just because leadership, but I don't want that contract.
They're trying to bring back Gudis long term, from what Hextall's been saying, and I'm
Shen, too.
happy to hear that for both of them. They've both really exploded this year as far as production's going. I can't say I don't know what Gudis was doing back in Tampa Bay, but it's fair to say no one had the highest regards for him when he came here. No one expected a great deal from him. And
I think mostly because he was more or less considered like a checking defenseman. Like, he just he took a lot of bad penalties. He didn't really do too much, but he's grown and in his own right here in Philly, and he loves it here. He says his family loves it here too. And same with Ryan White. Like, we as a city have bless you.
Sorry.
I think it's okay. We as a city have developed a culture around our hockey team. Like, we are, I think, out of all 4 sports in this city, we are the closest to our hockey team. Like, we are the most personal with them because our owner shared that sentiment.
Ed Snyder was probably the best owner that could have come to Philadelphia. He's one of the few, he might have been the only one that saw hockey as a sport that could work in our city.
Yeah.
When no one else did.
And because he got to do such a thing, we have since changed completely. I think our culture completely revolves around the Flyers at this point because they are the most successful team in the city. I do not count the Soul. They are not an actual sport team as much as they are a sport team.
If we're being honest, they're all we got at this point. The Phillies are doing a lot better than we thought they were this year. I did not see them being anywhere near 500 even this early in the season, and they're 2 games above 500 coming off a sweep with the Nationals.
Which was crazy.
But I think both the Flyers and Phillies are good examples of how we should rebuild. Mm-hmm. The Sixers
No. Right now, I think the league is trying to do with the Sixers what they did to the Clippers.
Can you elaborate on that for me?
Okay. So do you remember when Chris Paul was about to be traded from the Hornets?
Yep.
The Hornets had, I don't know if they still do, they had ownership rights to the Hornets. So they had final say in where he would end up going in a trade. And originally, Chris Paul was supposed to go to the Lakers, if you remember correctly. Yep. And then they denied it and sent him to the Clippers. Mm-hmm. And I think, and I honestly, like the league itself is trying to personally take a claim in the Sixers because they're garbage. They are the worst team in sports in terms of management. They have the worst management. And I think Hinkie was doing okay. He was building along well. And then the NBA's like, hey, let me just put my foot right here and spread out. And they've taken over since. It's like NWO. It's like a cancer from within.
Much as I would have loved to see Hinkie make the plan come to fruition, the more this went on, the more I just became negative towards the Sixers and his plan in general. Yeah. Because it's one thing to say, all right, we're going to be going through a rebuilding process, but there was so much dysfunction between owners and Sam Hinkie and other officials within the Sixers, and some of the moves they were making, like trading away Michael Carter-Williams when all of the players and the coaches seemed to be bonding around that point guard. There was just a lot of questionable moves that wondered, how is this going to help us in the long run by trading away these pieces for oftentimes second-round picks, which in the NFL, that would be a great pick to trade for. NHL, that'd be a great pick to trade for. But in the NBA, you don't hear a lot of second-round picks coming out, and having a stock load of second-round picks wasn't necessarily going to help us. And I think patience finally just wear too thin with Sam Hinkie, and we needed to move forward without him because we were staying stagnant and bad for way too long.
To kind of defend Hinkie on some of his actions, I think trading away Michael Carter-Williams was a relatively smart move. Ideally, when you're looking for a point guard, you want someone who is very consistent in terms of passing. And Michael Carter-Williams has gotten better, but he's still a little turnover happy sometimes. He's not the greatest three-point shooter. He's hit threes, but Shaq's hit threes too. And Michael Carter-Williams doesn't hit him as consistently as a point guard should for a team. I think trading away a second-round pick for Ish Smith after not signing him was stupid.
That was a dumb move.
That was absolutely I'm not saying he's made great and not great. I'm not going to leave out the negative. The Ducks fired Bruce Boudreau.
Hey.
We're in the money. Okay. Anyway, back to the Sixers. I think that while Hinkie had some good and some bad, he still had has 3 first-round picks this year in the draft, or 4, something along those lines.
I think it's between 3 or 4 with it was depending on a couple things. I haven't been able to look into all of them yet.
You keep talking, I'm gonna look it up.
I think this would have been the year for the Sixers to finally say, all right, this is where the rebuild ends and this is where we start to build forward as a team. And having these extra amount of first-round picks would have been great for that. We could have either drafted a lot of young talent and moved forward with them, or we could have traded a few picks and maybe got some veteran talent to coach along the young talent we would have picked up in the draft and from previous drafts like Embiid, Okafor, if he's not already used his trade bait for more picks or other players, Noel if he stays around. There's a lot of ways we can turn this around as a team and a franchise to finally put us in a winning direction. But at the same time, with the way the team's been going, we really just need to hope that they're making the right decisions going forward. And that's a fair statement for any team. But with this team, we haven't had that luxury of stability in a very long time.
Yeah, it's not a phenomenal thing to really dwell on, especially with the team being that bad. Let's see here. So looking at the 2016 NBA draft pick pending transactions, the Sixers are slated to pick at 1. Sixers have option to swap picks with Kings. Kings pick protected between 11 and 30. Sixers would not exercise swap option because their pick is currently more favorable than the Kings. So that was the Stauskas trade.
Okay.
Sixers option to swap 2016 first round picks. And they also have the option to swap with them in the 2017 draft as well.
We might do that.
Second overall, the Sixers are supposed to pick too, because the Lakers traded their pick to the Suns, who traded it to the Sixers in the 3-team trade for Michael Carter Williams. Let's see here.
So we have the draft pick for the worst team and the second worst team.
Yes.
That's pretty good.
Not only that, but we have the 8th overall pick also. We would. This might be. I have no idea what this pick is. There's a lot of stipulations to this one. What the hell? This site's relatively confusing because there's a lot of words, and I just opened it up. So, oopsie daisies.
I think one of the picks we're getting is from the Heat, but I'm not sure completely.
All right. So, that might be the. Is that the Heat one? No, it's not. Okay. But they have 2 other picks in the first round. They have, if everything's projected to go by record, then they have the first and the second. Possibly the 8th. I'm not 100% on how that's supposed to go. And then 24 and 25. Or not 25, 26.
I think the Lakers pick is protected, though, so I don't know if they would get that second. I think it's top 5 or top 3.
Sixers is it's protected top 3.
Okay, so we might not get first and second then?
Pick would defer to 2017 because Lakers pick is currently in top 3.
Okay, so we're definitely getting a top 3 or 4 pick, though.
Yes.
That's pretty much on lock.
Yeah.
Okay, like positives to take from it.
Not bad, but like that was Hinky's doing. Like we wouldn't be in the situation we are now, possibly drafting first overall without in so many drafts without Hinky. And I know the team's bad and tanking and whatever, but it's a business and it's stupid. So they might not even pick first, depending if the NBA is like, hey, nope. And then
we want the Lakers to be good again.
Yeah, eat this, D'Angelo Russell or something.
Oh, no.
But we're not going to bring that up. So we're going to take like a 1-song break, and then we're going to be right back. I believe I'm going to look. My head itches. I'm sorry. So I'm going to play. Let's see. What do I want to play? You know what? I think I have an idea of what I want to play. Jesus. I had something in mind, and then I immediately lost it. Let me look through it because I played it before, so I might. Let me see.
You're definitely thinking of a Florida Georgia Line song.
I am not, but thank you for trying.
It's worth a shot.
Let me actually check. I don't even know if we have any of them in here. Oh my God.
Oh, Charlie.
Yeah. We have 2 Florida Georgia Line songs. We have Confession and Anything Goes.
Let's give it a shot.
Which pick one?
Let's go Anything Goes.
All right, that's what we're going to roll with. So you guys have been listening to Widecast Radio. Where did that song go? There it is. So you guys have been listening to Widecast Radio, giving you the best in sports news in Sports Zealots. This has been Nick.
I'm Jason.
And we'll be back after this short break. Stay tuned.
So I just wanted to give a shout out to our friend Jim, who we know is a huge country music fan. So in honor of him, we wanted to play some classic country music for him. Yeah, Florida Georgia Line is easily his favorite country music group. So we figured we obliged to him and give in to his requests. Best country music of today. Honestly. So as we go right back into the fold here, we're going to start it off with the news that kind of broke mid Sixers talking. Anaheim Ducks former coach Bruce Boudreau getting fired because he is trash. He's a human cherry tomato, and now he is jobless. He was arguably one of the best regular season coaches. There's no denying he had an ability to coach. However, there's no way you can defend a guy who loses, 4 straight Game 7s in the playoffs?
Yep.
to a team that has been considered a heavy contender for the Stanley Cup title each of the past 3 seasons. And you can't come up that short that many times in a major conference team
Yeah.
and expect to be able to keep your job. I thought GM Brian Murray gave him a nice leash to continue giving him opportunity after opportunity to prove himself. And each time in the season he would, but at the end of the day, the ultimate goal is to win the Stanley Cup, and Bruce Boudreau is not the answer in Anaheim.
And honestly, a lot of us, well, Jason and I, our first and second favorite teams are the Flyers and the Ducks. So being Ducks fans for about a decade now, we've seen the entirety of Boudreau's tenure. And Steelman specifically hates him because he benched Solani, and you don't bench a legend in the
Never
playoffs.
Bench the Finnish Flash.
It is dumb, and it honestly made a lot of people hate him, and he is a human cherry tomato. So
When you get Mike Milbury to say you are an awful coach for the way you treat your players, that's a bad sign.
honestly, especially coming from Mike Milbury, who traded away Zdeno Chara and Roberto Luongo for bags of chips, respectively.
He's a special bag of chips, I'll tell you.
He is like, I don't know. Imagine the worst knockoff brand food item you could ever think of. That's like not a parody, but like a knockoff of something like actually decent.
Crispy Rice. He is crispy rice.
Yeah, he's crispy rice. Yeah, it's not even good. Like there's I don't even want to go into deeper comparison. He's just bad. He is bad.
I think we can just leave it at that.
Honestly, like, okay, if David Hackstall this year is Kraft mac and cheese, Bruce Boudreau is Easy Mac.
I can't top that. I'm just going to let you keep that one, and we're just going to move on from Mike Milbury because I don't want to talk about Mike Milbury.
We don't want to bring the evil one's name into this house of the holy. So moving on to actual playoffs for the NHL. Tonight we have 2 big games, game 1s in the second round, where it is the Blues against the Stars and the Predators against the Sharks. Jason, tell me what you think about what's going on tonight.
You said it's Predators or Sharks, right?
Yes.
Predators pulled off the upset over the Ducks. Take that for what you will. The Ducks were not the same team they were the past couple years, but that's not to diminish what the Predators did.
They were an awesome team that series.
Phenomenal defense, and they have a stout goalie in Pekka Rinne. The Sharks, on the other hand, they have Dad, Joe Thornton.
Yeah.
They have Joe Pavelski, who is
lifted that team to the playoffs.
Absolutely. He is an incredible player, great in great in real life. You can't ask for much more.
Deserved captain.
Martin Jones came up huge in that last series versus the Kings, where the student beat the master in Jonathan Quick.
Mm-hmm.
No one thought that the Kings would be ousted out early, and Martin Jones was a huge reason for that happening, so you can't overlook that. I think this is going to be a tight series. Tonight is the series, I think, in San Jose for tonight.
Yeah.
I'll take San Jose in this one tonight. If I had to put a score to it, I'll say it's going to be a relatively medium scoring 3-2 win for San Jose.
Makes sense. I mean, I think it's hard to say if this is honestly probably going to be, if the game goes as evenly as I think it will, I think it'll go 2-1. It'll be an overtime goal. And it'll be a game dominated by defense. Like the 2 goals early, like might come early on in the game, and then it's just a slugfest the rest of the way through. And I think the Predators might be able to pull this one out because they have arguably one of the best defensive tandems in hockey right now in Shea Weber and Roman Josi.
I can't argue with that at all. The Sharks have Brent Burns, who's a great defenseman, but more known for his offensive abilities rather than his defensive abilities, especially coming off this year where he had a Norris Trophy worth season where he produced like a top forward on the defensive unit. But as far as defensive tandem goes, you can't say that. Who's Burns' partner anyway? Is it Vlasic.
I want to say it's Vlasic.
You can't take Burns and Vlasic over Yossi and Weber.
No.
As much as you want the production from Burns on the offensive side, it just doesn't compare to what Weber and Yossi bring on both offense and defense.
Mm-hmm. Oh, another report while we break up mid-hockey. Apparently, in a report from The Score, the Eagles told Sam Bradford about plans to draft quarterback before they traded for the second overall pick.
Do you think they told him they'd be trading up to draft a quarterback, or do you think they were saying we might draft a guy third, fourth round, like maybe a Christian Hackenberg as a backup?
I don't think they were going to draft Hack. Hack is a hack and trash. So no. I think if anything, Howie Roseman's probably going to be a little more direct and forward than Chip Kelly was. Chip Kelly is a very underhanded, deep-seated, like I'm doing what I want, screw everyone else type of guy. At least that's the way he came off in Philly as well as San Fran now. Good luck signing free agents, by the way. So I think as Howie wrote, I think that probably is why Bradford got upset. And I can see where he's coming from, but now he's just got to be like, all right, let us run with this. Let's go and be a great team, and maybe I can teach Wentz something before I leave. I think, he could be, for lack of a better comparison, he could be the significantly less talented Brett Favre to Wentz's Aaron Rodgers.
Or he could be the more talented Doug Peterson to Carson Wentz's Donovan McNabb kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, it could all go up or down with this team.
As long as we get between Aaron Rodgers and Donovan McNabb, I'm happy. Just don't give me Ryan Lee for
please
injured RG3.
Something like that. Jim made the comparison, as I said, to Easy Mac and Kraft actual mac and cheese. He said, if Hackstall is Legos, Bruce Boudreau is Mega Blocks. I'd say that's pretty good.
That's a good one. You know, you guys bring the creativity. I bring the spunky enthusiasm with my monotone voice.
And that's all we need, really. Where were we? Okay, playoffs. So we keep getting interrupted by things on the internet, so that's great. Going back to the playoff games, we also have the Blues and the Stars. So we have a Central Division matchup, a rivalry matchup between the Blues, who almost choked, but didn't, got away with murder. No discredit towards them, against the Stars, who prevented a comeback from happening against the Wild.
I want to show respect to the Stars for having the second best record in the NHL this year, best in the West. However, I do not see their defense and goaltending be like having the ability to keep up with St. Louis's. They have arguably competing with the Predators, the best defense in the league. Not as great as a goalie as Pecorine, but Brian Elliott's been phenomenal since he's been given the ball to start. Their offense with Vladimir Tarasenko is legit, and they have arguably, other than the Capitals and the Penguins, who unfortunately have to play each other this round.
Yep.
They might have one of the deepest, most well-rounded rosters remaining in the playoffs. So I could actually see them advancing all the way to the Cup Finals if Ken Hitchcock can lead them there.
Absolutely. However, while I do think the Blues played extremely well, goaltending-wise, Brian Elliott played out of his mind. The Stars, last series against the Wild, they didn't have Tyler Seguin, and he comes back tonight. So this could be a very interesting series either way. So I think we're getting two really good games tonight. So if you're any general hockey fan whatsoever, then tonight would be the night to watch, because it's going to be absolutely insane.
It's a series of where can the Stars' firepower on offense outlast the stronghold that the Blues defense and overall team likes to impose on their teams.
And it's going to be some good stuff no matter what, because it's playoff hockey. It's the best playoff atmosphere in major professional sports.
No doubt about it.
And with that, we're going to move on to last night's game, the series opener between the Capitals and the Penguins. The Penguins almost edge out a game, but from the help of TJ Oshie scoring a hat trick, the Capitals win 4-3. Jason, what are your thoughts so far about this series?
I think both teams last night looked a bit rusty, actually. There were some coverages and defense, like lapses there, that led to some of the goals that happened. The goalies, both Braden Holtby and who was in net for Pittsburgh last night? Was it?
I want to say it was Murray, but I'm not sure.
It was Murray. He wasn't as sharp as he was. He let up a couple goals that he shouldn't have, or he wasn't giving up last series. Same with Holtby. I think it's going to increase in intensity, and there's going to be more crisp and fluid play as the series goes on. Last night was a bit of a sloppy game for both teams, and the Caps ended up on the top of it with Oshie getting a hattie.
Yeah.
But I have the Caps winning this one in 6 games, probably.
Fair enough. Yeah, Matt Murray played last night. He gave up 4 goals on 29 shots with a save percentage of .886, which I think is the worst so far for him this playoffs.
It's not great.
Holtby, on the other hand, 3 goals on 41 shots, save percentage of .933. Up there with some of the best, but I think Neuwirth's numbers were higher. Anyway, the scoring breakdown for the Penguins game last night went Burakovsky opening it up, then Lovejoy, Malkin getting 2, then Oshie, then Bonino, then Oshie in overtime. So, bless you, I think, even though that was probably a cough. That was probably a cough. So I think the Capitals probably edge this out just by a little. But if they do, they're going to... I mean, I've been flip-flopping on who I think is actually going to win. I think the Capitals, though, are, like, so good right now that it's going to be kind of hard to stop them. I think the best thing you can hope for if you're Tampa, the Islanders right now is hoping that either Pittsburgh or Washington tires themselves out before the Eastern Conference Finals.
They're both two. It's the immovable object versus the... I don't even
Irresistible force?
Irresistible force.
Well, I don't think it's irresistible.
It can be whatever it wants to be. There's 2 great Titans going at it this round, and for the sake of both New York and Tampa, they better hope one of them is mortally wounded before then.
Yeah, because they're not going to be able to stand on their own legs too much when your team's getting like destroyed game in and game out every week until June. So, oh, bless me, I am tired. Jesus, it's contagious. I guess we are 8 minutes away from being completely finished. We actually do have something from my secret source. He says, I asked him if there was any updated news that I would be able to use for the show, and he said, only that I think that the Flyers will try and acquire Jamie McGinn.
Interesting.
Tell me what you think.
I would like the move. He is, I believe, a winger, right?
Yes, he's a left winger.
He's a left winger. Flyers have God knows how many centers playing
a lot.
Various wing positions.
I think it was like 12 out of 17.
I was talking to Steelman about this, actually. Like, you'd think it would be a brilliant thing to have centers that could play wing. Because, hey, who doesn't want a wing that can also wing faceoffs, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it should be foolproof. But if the Flyers have showed anything, it's not. But
no.
Jamie McGinn was a guy the Ducks acquired for relatively cheap this year. And even though they didn't make it far in the playoffs, Jamie McGinn was a strong player for them throughout the end of the regular season. And even the playoffs, he played relatively well for them.
He had a lot of key goals for the team, specifically near the end of the season. I didn't see too much from him in the playoffs, but he still contributed a lot. He was a very good depth forward.
He is a lower rated Simmons, if I would say. He's the guy that's going to be forcing his way onto the doorstep and getting the dirty goals. He's not going to usually be the guy that's dangling in the zone and sniping or anything like that, but he will do his job. He will play gritty hockey, and he will do whatever it takes to put his team on the board and get a W for his team, and that's the Philadelphia way.
And absolutely, and I think this might be the best note to end on this news, because hopefully within the next week, we're going to find out if Drake Kajulia, I gotta learn how to pronounce that. He makes his final decision on which NHL team he wants to play for. And we're gonna see if our source comes up right. And we have 2 predictions now. Hopefully we get to see these happen. It's obviously nothing is guaranteed, because it comes down specifically to the player and the agent's choice.
Unfortunately, he went to the game where the fans decided it was a fun time to throw bracelets on the ice, but hopefully...
but at the same time, they also kind of showed resiliency. The team did. Mm-hmm. So it's more about the team than it is the fans, because those weren't fans. Those were fans, in quotations.
Those were Philly fans, quote unquote.
Yeah.
The ones that everywhere else in the nation likes to paint all of us as, but
like ESPN did earlier this week.
Fun little segment.
That was stupid.
That was a dumb segment.
I
hated that segment.
It's like, who threw a battery? Who threw a battery at me? Who did this? Like, shut up, you idiot. Is that really the best you can do? Like, I don't even think there was actual Philly people. I think they were just plants.
They had to be.
Actors.
They couldn't be actual Philly people. They were just doing that to mess with Philly more, because why not, you know?
The easiest thing to do for them to garner attention is rally up an entire city. And we are the most passionate and dedicated sports city in America.
I just don't even know what to say about it anymore. Some fans, incidents like that are going to keep the stigma around and give media more ammunition against us like that, But the thing that angers me the most about that is that it wasn't even like a full percentage of people at the game who threw a bracelet. It was 100 out of 19,000 people who decided to take their bracelets off of their wrists and throw it onto the ice. And that's half of a percent. 0.5% is how much they actually throw onto the ice. But for now, I think we're just about done for today. It's a good show. Thank you, Jason, for coming in. If you have any lasting words for our lovely audience. Just thanks for having me. I'm always happy to come help out here when I can. Always fun to talk about sports with you, and usually Steelman and Justin or whoever else comes on.
Exactly.
And glad we could help end the year on a high note.
And I think I wanted to do a Flyers recap today, but I figure it might be better to do it like a week from now, when we get like a full studio, and then we can just like all congregate our opinions here with you, our listening audience, on Widecast Radio. So thank you, everyone who has tuned in, all 5 listeners we have going on right now. So thank you, everyone, for joining, and we'll see you guys next week. Have a nice weekend, guys.